Podríamos ir a la clase de nosotros. Es el día antes que vamos a bautizar. Y con Manuela para hacer curso y para que no esté sola con la cuenta personal.
You got everybody? There she is. All right. Oops. Okay. How's everybody? Yeah, sleep well? Rested, ready to go? Day 3? We're already on Wednesday, right? Is today Wednesday? Halfway through. Day 3 of 5. So, any war stories? Tom, you got some war stories from last night? Did you have a few beers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to this one bar, and it was a Los Taqueria, and in the pictures there was a big bar scene, and I guess it was divided by a wall. But in order to get to the actual bar, you go through a door. I don't know if you guys seen, was it Dust Till Dawn? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, so walk in one door, and it was a cutout of a porta-john, plastic door in the front. You open up and you see urinals on the side. They're not connected to anything. I'm like, how do you use these? And there's no stools or anything. Well, apparently you have to go. There's another door, and then you open up and you're like, oh, this. So I think the little intermediate area was to kind of stop the riffraff from.
Oh, really?
It's
like a secret passage thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe
you have to go past urinals to get to the bar.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. That's a good story. Any other crazy stories from last night? So I wish I learned. You want to do the likes? Arnoud?
Yes. So I had a couple of ones that were they like John's perspective and they make these approaches to use creativity, and I like the thing wrong. Were mentioned a couple of times. Also, I saw, I wasn't there the full time yesterday. I like the pickup from the other team and the team collaboration. And I see the different ways of the different ideation exercises. So I think one was mentioned was the opposite ideas to get inspiration. It were for me the main pieces I got. There was some like of the stakeholder value mapping. I like that too. I'll come back to that today.
Yeah.
Because it's really cool. Great tool that you can use at different moments with the whole design thinking flow. Early on and also later when you have to really work on an idea to look back, hey, how does it resonate with the key stakeholders?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I wish I was more open-minded. We won't judge. I wish I would have done an intercept interview. So we will probably be doing that today. It won't be interviews per se, but we're probably going to design it so that you guys have time to go out into the nearby community here, just walk out on the street with your prototype and show it to people that you just intercept in the street. So we'll try to work that in. Let's see. I wish I had learned think wrong earlier. I wish I could learn more about thinking wrong. I wish I didn't get so attached to our sponsorship idea. I think that was one particular team. I wish I had all the slides, and I wish I could get all the presentations and revisit them later. All of that will happen at the end of the week. We'll get that out to you guys all in one big batch on Basecamp. And then I wish there was a beer available in the afternoon. Okay. Yeah. No. But tomorrow night we will have wine and beer, and if you would sign up on the list over there, if you haven't done already, if you're interested in wine or beer, we're going to a restaurant where we it's like a bring your own thing, and so we just want to curate the drinks so that we have some that you all like.
About beer, I did one of my first boot camp. We did a creative prototyping session in the evening in the bar with beer. That went really well. That's serious.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, people were working and going together. It was an amazing atmosphere.
Well, you didn't
It's not a bad thing.
say anything about that. We could do the whole day today in the bar. I guess we'd get real creative after a while. I learned a lot from everyone. New techniques for generating ideas, new tools. I learned how to think big and different. I learned to be bold, right? And I think that was John's real big thing. Is you guys. He's basically saying to the world, you gotta be crazy. You gotta be. And what he told me, I don't know if he mentioned this to you guys. He said, you can always ramp down but you will never take a normal idea to crazy, right? You can always dial something back, but inside of an organization, if you come up with some kind of concept, you will never take it to another level, right? So go from crazy down if you want to, but you have to start there. I think that's just brilliant. And I always hug John because he's just a lovable guy and he's a good friend. I learned that I might actually be creative. I think everybody's creative, obviously. I learned exercises to help me open my mind. I learned how to...
Well, not everybody's creative. Let's organize your teams. That's how you have different exercises and different types of activities with different kinds of people. And it sounds really trivial, but it's not. I mean, lots of us are introverts and we like to work on our own a bit and maybe reflect a little bit more. You need to build in time in that and activities that we feel those different groups. And I see time and time and again that people disconnect because we're trying to push what we like to the front thing while other people may want to take a step back. And it's really important to build that in your flow of activities that you design.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this. Anybody got a Sharpie? To that point, when Jeroen teaches ideation, he does. This is my flip chart.
Is this one a bit? These three.
It's a little bit like that. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It is exactly pretty much the same thing. This is
with the steps. It looks normally
it does. It's good. I like the legendary word. I like the legendary. But it's basically the same idea, except the way he talks about it is you have these three phases of ideation. And the first phase is just getting the ideas that you have in your head, the pretty obvious ideas. The second phase is, I'm not exactly sure how he explains that, but it's kind of pushing the envelope. It's trying to get you to think beyond just the obvious. And then the third phase is basically you don't think you have anything else in your head at all. You're done. No more ideas. And then that's when you're going to come up with something original, something unique. And so, to your point, we try to do at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 different things to try to get you into this legendary. Right?
And it's also important to dedicate enough time. It's not like within half an hour ideation, you can get okay results. You should expect miracles. It can happen, but yeah, you need to set or create the environment where those ideas can come out. So you need to dedicate sufficient time.
Yeah, and
So that's a good question. That's a good point, though.
Yes.
So time boundary.
You have 3 hours. Can you do a design workshop? I mean, that's kind of
Possibly. So we're going to go back to our organization. Mm-hmm. We're thinking, we want to break the mold, and so we want to break the mold in the most, like you're saying, a way that's set for the best results. And I think this week, for example, puts a framework of time that we don't have time to just ponder a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of sparks of ideas, and then you come together. But so, when we go back, and we're talking about how do we think wrong and act, make something, not talk like John was talking about yesterday. Should we confine that? What's the optimum?
Well, every challenge is different. Yeah. So you've been exposed to many tools. All the tools are great and serve a purpose, but you cannot do them all the time. If you only have half a day, try to do them all and you will drive people crazy. 5 minutes to say all value, it doesn't work. So based on the time you have and your objective, what your challenge is, you pick the tools. I call it being able to builder with my tool belt. And I always say, okay, what do I have in front of me? And then I said, I'm making this tool, that tool, and that's how I try to make it work. I was like a critical path of activities. I normally design for more. I'm a very optimistic person. But I also have some realistic, these are the critical activities that I definitely want to keep. And those I can, because of time pressure or because of other events that I don't control, I can focus. So it really depends what you're trying to achieve. That's what we can have maybe during the lunches, have some conversations on that, and I think tomorrow as well is how to implement it. Is also meant for that, for those discussions. That's really you need to learn a little bit, and you need to also sometimes take the tools that you're more comfortable with at the beginning. Or you feel like I trust the outcome of those tools better than the others. But I feel that's also you have to kind of tweak the tools to make it work for you.
That makes sense. That's good.
And we were talking about last night a little bit, and some of the ways that we can find the time, because you're right, we have not a whole week sometimes to work through some stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes having the experts in the room eliminate some of the interview and research time because they actually contribute to the journey. So it's harder.
Experts are dangerous people.
Well, yes, but they're the people that are the journey.
They assume that they know the personas really well. That's why I like to have 3 teams talking to them. Once we had to work with campers, was with mothers, that was somewhere in Poland, that lived in an urban area and did online shopping. And they said, oh, not only the qualified facilitators are allowed to talk to us in mothers. I said, come on, like, you just have to ask questions. And I kind of had to break their pattern to do that.
So I meant internal customers.
The same for internal as well. I mean, I work for a company. I think I know what my fellow employees do, like, and want. When I talk to them, time and time and again, I discover that their context is maybe different than I was thinking before.
Yes, so I have the internal customers in the room. Like they're the ones.
Yeah, but you said the experts.
Yeah, they're the experts on their own.
I was splitting that in between, like, there are people you interview and people that are in the team, and you really make them. I don't know, we can talk about
I was gonna say, you guys can argue over lunch.
No, we're in the masterclass. I touch upon internal design.
So what I understand you saying is you're bringing the people who you're designing for, and they are the experts. You're saying, be careful, people who think they're experts, right? I think they know their customers, often don't know their customers.
Yeah. So I think I missed your
expert
idea.
Break it up. So,
sorry.
Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Arnoud. So I know you were kind of introduced yesterday, but we actually met for the first time.
Did we?
At one point in the
We had not met before.
I shake your hand one time when you came through the studio. You were
went
to the back, and
then that's why I remember facing.
You were busy, and I was busy, but it was very crazy. But we're really happy to have Arnoud here. This is the first time for him to work with US boot camp, and since he was one of the people who designed the program based on a lot of his experience at P&G, I'll let you tell all about your background because I don't really know all that much other than you're the man. But we're happy to have him here, and he's going to do today's fundamentals day, and off you go. It's all up to you.
Thank you very much. Well, maybe a quick introduction of myself. So I'm Dutch. I live in Belgium. I'm married with Florian, who's Southern Italian. I have 2 children, Jacob and Carlotta. My kids have the first Italian last name and the Dutch, Italian first and Dutch last name. So Jacob and Carlotta, they're 16 and almost 15 is my daughter. It's next week. She will be 15. Interesting age, since we had some discussions yesterday, but so far so good. I work at Procter & Gamble in Brussels. I worked for Procter & Gamble in Paris and in Geneva as well. My function is IT, so don't be scared. I started off in something really technical, but something that changed. The work I'm doing has not really a lot to do with IT. I actually work on acquisitions and divestiture. This has been since a few years. It's my day job, but next to that I coach and help people inside P&G teams and organizations with training or coaching on design thinking. I've done work also before. I did acquisition and divestitures. I worked in the innovation team, and that was full-time working on design thinking or similar approaches. I started with design thinking in 2007. I had this multi-functional, multi-country project, and I was told, you have to do design thinking, you have to apply it. Okay, why not? And it was really like, I fell in love with methodology. And from there on, I evolved, applying it to more projects, getting trained, qualified, doing external connectivity. And that's how I got in contact with the Design Tools Academy in Amsterdam. And there's this networking group called Designers DNA, where we meet regularly, at least every quarter. And out of that came the idea of the bootcamp. And that's how I got involved in the bootcamp. Before that, I already did some bootcamps, like the one with the prototyping with the at Procter & Gamble. I'm still in love with design thinking. I really like it. One of the things I really like about it, I call it open source magic. If you want to find out tools, templates, not everything is available and nothing is hidden. And I really appreciate it. So, but at the same time as well, the tools are there. And as I said before, you need to work with the tools you feel comfortable with. For example, the customer journey map. I love that tool. I actually introduced that inside Procter & Gamble because when I learned design thinking, that tool wasn't there. It was a few years ago. So I love it, but it's also very, there's lots of information on there. So if you work with people that go through that for the first time, sometimes I use a white or brown paper version and let them build it swimming lane by swimming lane because it's just easier and less, I think they will be less confused. Because you have always people, if they see like, oh, there is someone, need to complete that one too. Well, that's maybe not always required for so open source magic, that's why I really like design thinking. So what I'm going to talk about today is a few things, but first, this is probably how you feel now, in like the red dot in the middle with all these tools and what I'm going to do with it now. You're only halfway, so you're going to get more tools and more things. But what we're trying to do today and tomorrow is help you a little bit in finding a way of how you should use it and how you can make most out of it. So don't worry. I still sometimes feel like that, but I like that uncertainty. It makes me tick. So I want to talk about three design thinking pillars before I go more into service design thinking, and then prototyping. Well, I think probably we want to talk more about prototyping later today. So our objective is we want to get your ideas that you had yesterday, and we're going to look back to your opportunity space template that you completed.
Do you want a clicker?
Yeah, I have normally my mouse, but I need to. That's on the other side. It's probably easier.
It might have to detect it. Like,
yes, it works. And what we want to do it into a persona validated concept at the end of today. So as you know, tomorrow the objective is that you will be able to present your idea in a short period of time in the Shark Tank, team. So today we're going to make you go through different steps so you can validate your idea with your personas, as Mark said before, and also try to make it as precise as possible. So if you're looking at the double diamond, this is where we started. We started with the problem we've done here. So we're somewhere here. This maybe I say second, maybe it's the third or the fourth diamond already. It feels a little bit. It depends a bit how you go, but we're now trying to get to the solutions of this stuff. So that's what we're trying to get you to today. So how are we going to do that? We're going to start with creating a concept. So that's building around, that's number one here. It's the core idea. And we use as Mark calls it, the onion model, the product and the services and systems template for that. So we're going to do that, like let's say, right after the masterclass. Then from there on, we're going to create a prototype. We'll start with the service scenario, which is a template that you can call it a storyboard, but it's a bit more than that. It really explains the start of your idea until the end, like 9 boxes. It sounds really simple, but normally it's pretty hard to get the end point. But you will notice as soon as you've done that, that prototyping is a walk in the park. It's really, really easy because all of a sudden everybody has the same understanding. And that comes back to some of the pillars of design thinking that I want to talk about later. Then we're going to go out and test it with your persona. So we're going to present or actually show them your prototype. You'll be quiet and enjoy the gift of feedback and see if they like what you've done or if they agree with it. Don't be discouraged if that's not the case. It's a gift of feedback. In every idea, there's something that they will like. You just have to maybe take that out and make that big or amplify that. And then the last part of the day is the concept canvas, and it's where we're all trying to bring it together. There we have to be a little bit tough on ourselves. We have quite a lot of material to get through, but if we complete that properly, you'll be really well equipped for tomorrow to prepare your story that you're going to present at the end of day 4. Okay, so later I'm going to talk a little bit about the tools, but high level, what we're going to do, we have here we're going to create this concept. That's tool 1. We use a service scenario, after which you go prototyping, and then we have the concept canvas. These are kind of, in principle, the tools we're going to work with today. So, 3 design thinking pillars. And if I explain design thinking to people, well, first I have to, there's this video, what is designthinking.org. There's this little video that's online. And I was working already several years on design thinking, and then I showed that video to my wife, and she looked at me and said, "Finally, I understand what you mean with design thinking." But she said, "Design thinking, I really don't get it." It's a 4-minute video, but it's actually not a really new video, but I really like it because it explains the 4 steps. But when I explain the background of design thinking, I use these 3: so visualization, flow, and playfulness. Let's start with visualization. I think if you look around, I think it's clear what visualization means. What design thinking helps, it helps to take insights and turn that at the end into knowledge. And what they do by creating patterns, by using those tools and canvases that we have, it's much easier for our brains to process it and understand, and also to get to a common understanding. So the visualization part is really, really important. And that's why the canvas is not only because it looks nice, but it really helps for people to assimilate the information that you have been gathering as a team. And that is for me visualization for every activity that you plan for. Always have in mind what is the visual aspect. It doesn't mean that it has to look smooth or slick, but how visual is it? And will it help therefore people to understand better what the insights that we're gathering? The other one is flow, and what I hope after maybe already during your service scenario, that when you're going to go prototype this afternoon, that you experience the flow state. If you're lucky or unlucky, it depends how you see it. Say if you have an hour to do prototyping and the service scenario, I've seen cases where people spend 55 minutes on the service scenario, and in 5 minutes they came in with a brilliant prototype. Again, this is low fidelity prototyping, so don't worry, it's paper and everything. But because people knew exactly what they wanted to do, all of a sudden, so this tasks were divided automatically, everybody did the things they thought they were good at, and in 5 minutes they created a brilliant prototype. And that flow mindset is when you do design thinking, is where you're trying to get information. It's more the yes and instead of the yes but that you want to generate. And what you will see, and you will have probably already experienced in the last 2 days, there's moments you get into this flow state and something happens, and you kind of fall back. And you have to feel like, if you look at the different group dynamic stages, you get back to storming, maybe somebody doesn't agree, and you're going to discuss. But when you organize and manage teams, you always want to try to get them as soon as possible in that flow state, because that's where the magic happens. The other one is playfulness. It's not because things have to be funny, but when things are lighthearted, it also helps people to remove the barriers and be open for new ideas that otherwise they would never considered. So some of the energizers that you've done so far, and some of them that we'll do today, again, they serve a purpose. It's not, sometimes it's just fun to do them, but it also liberates people's minds. So when you're going to do ideation, there's certain activities you can do that help people to be a bit more open to ideation and remove some of the silent thinking or barriers in their head. So again, for me, when I look at anything or the thing I organize, I always look at those three, and that's how I try to see, do I use visualization? When and how do I get teams into flow? And is there an element of playfulness? The element of playfulness, you have to adapt a little bit to the organizations or group you're working with. Sometimes you have to build it up a little bit. So if you work with really formal organizations, you maybe have to adjust some of the activities and make them a little bit formal. Doesn't mean you cannot work, but you have to, use the right measures or use the right tools. Did you ready to change 5 things?
Not yet. We will do today. We talked about that.
Okay, that's a nice one, for example, to build up. We'll show that to when people are a little bit formal. There's many. So these are the 3 key pillars that everything I do around designing, I always keep in the back of my mind. And, I think they're fundamental to the success of design. So, from ID to service, that's what we're trying to do today. I'm not saying that we're going to create a full-fledged service because our time is limited. And again, we want to expose you to different tools so you can take out of it and then do with it what is valid for you. And again, there's also one thing, this is a training. Okay, we always want to create perfect ideas and perfect concepts. It's also to try out things. It's okay if it maybe doesn't work out. The important thing is that you learn. It's how you get most out of this learning these days is also what you have to keep in mind. But we're going to get your idea from your opportunity space to kind of a service. So just a quick energizer. In the last month or months, which bad experience did you share with family or friends? Which service? It can be anything. It can be really small. And what upset you most, and to how many people did you share? We all live in a perfect world. Think about it for a minute.
You mean actual service?
Yeah, it could be as simple as it could be a small element of a service, something that upset you when you were. Maybe get it. Do you want to idea already, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I shared that.
And why does it upset you? Because
It's in the last 3 days. So it is growing. I think the next day there'll be some.
and because you get caffeine, you get even more upset now. Or
Okay.
are you the same, or?
No, I have 4 decaf. You can have
I see an opportunity. Anything else?
Yeah, I ran out. I wanted to do some laundry. I've been traveling for a week now, so I want to do some laundry. So I called to find out the laundry services at the hotel, and they said, there's washers on the 3rd floor. I said, great. Is there somewhere I can get detergent? And they rang me back 20 minutes later and said, no, we haven't done anything. That's it. I went, is there any other takeout service? No, just the washers. They're not very much good to me. I think I need to do my laundry with. That was the end of the conversation.
Should maybe add another bottle to the bottles that they bought.
Well, she said we've got no travel size. I said, does housekeeping have anywhere I can just get a look? No.
That's it.
Yeah.
And have big services.
Yeah.
Did you already tell it to people?
No, I've just told you now.
And you're staying in the Sheraton, huh?
Yes.
Miami Airport.
I think Sheraton's pretty big, hotel chain. They probably could have had laundry.
Yeah.
Probably in the store that's never open.
Possibly.
Yes, service.
So what's yours?
There's a store in the hotel that is never open. So we've been there for 4 days now, and not once has the store been open, and the hotel's in the middle of nowhere. So if you want a chocolate bar or coffee or anything, turn it into the store. Yeah. There's no way to get it.
We've been there on the weekend, we were there in the morning, we've been there in the evening, there in the middle of the day, like it's never open.
It's a joke. And then you can ask them about that. Hey, when is the store actually open? So they wouldn't even
That's what it serves me.
Convenience store.
And then I'm not there, I'm not even in the hotel, but I'll tell you what my takeaway is in like 2 seconds. Can somebody open the store and still sell you something?
No,
Apparently not.
it's not their store, it's somebody else's store, so it's.
And like, yeah.
That's fine.
I had one with Dan, we were out front and we called an Uber, had our bags out there. The Uber guy comes and he looks at us and he says, I can't pick you up. And he just keeps going. And he's got a car that's big enough.
Yeah.
And then the same Uber, another Uber guy comes, he has the same Toyota Corolla. Says, come on in. So it was the same car, but the second guy let us in.
Well, the first guy said John's bag is too big. And
Yeah.
I said, I'm sure you throw it in the back seat. No, you're not getting your trunk, maybe the back seat.
Two seats.
But no, zoom, see you later.
Yeah.
That's very smart for an Uber driver to do that.
That was a low rating.
Yeah. Did you already tell it to other people?
I told everybody. I've been that moment in time.
We were talking about this the other night at the restaurant. I can't remember where I was even at, but it was probably about 3 months ago. I walked into a bar, walked up to the bar and sat down.
Yeah.
It's 5:15 in the afternoon or in the evening, like 8 people in the whole bar, 3 bartenders, and they're sitting over in the corner. And not a one of them even acknowledged my existence.
That was dinner the night before last.
For minutes, right, for a long time. And I've probably never done this, but I just got up and left and walked out.
Yeah.
And I shared it with my wife that night, but
Did they look at you when you walked out?
no, nobody said a word to me the whole time I was in the restaurant. And I just thought, well, I guess my money's no good here. So.
You was here in Miami?
No, this was in Chicago.
Which bar?
Yeah, some bar in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, dinner the night before last. Trying to get a beer. Painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly bartenders aren't my thing.
But why was it so painful? Was it time that you had to wait, or was it?
Yeah. It was the time. It was the attitude. It was the. I mean, how long did it take to get a beer? Forever.
Yeah.
It was. You guys walked away.
Right.
Yeah. We were all standing there. I got mine, and then I'm trying to pay. It took, 5 minutes to get, which doesn't sound like a long time, but we were standing there just, okay, you know.
Finish your beer and get another one.
I could have, but then I didn't know how long it took me to get the next one. You know, and what kind of attitude I was going to get to process.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday that service is also something really cultural. There's some countries where the Dutch service is interesting.
It sucks.
But you live there a long time, so you're.
I bet I can get a beer.
You can't get a beer. Beers are a lot easier to
Beer
get.
are okay, but don't ask any complex questions. But don't try to alter the menu or say, I would like that, but that from the. That's not possible.
Is that because of the culture of no tipping though?
Yes, it has something to do with that.
Yes.
If they made more money based on how good the service was,
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you the service would be better.
Yeah.
But it's more complicated, right?
That's why it's shocking here when you get bad service, because
Yes.
their entire revenue is based off of how good the service, how good a job they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of.
There's no tipping in Australia. Service is pretty good. So I don't know.
It's not just people.
People just like beer there. And more. We just spend more. Give us more. Yeah.
You want to say
I was just going to say that since I've been exposed to design thinking in the last 4 years, I find myself noticing more and more when I have bad experiences with service.
Yes.
Wow, that wasn't designed for a good experience. This is an observation more comes to my mind.
you see often that yes, go ahead.
There's something interesting that I've been really working to train myself to think about the processes behind the frustration, because I'll encounter customer service, especially on the phone, and then what I have to remember is that that person doesn't have the processes to support them in providing good service to me.
Yes.
And then I noticed that when I get the surveys, like how did we do, it's really about rating person, but I never see, well, rarely do I see questions asking, Was the person, did the person have the tools to help you?
Yeah.
That's a very rare question.
And most of the time they don't have the tools because I work with that.
Right.
Most of the
True.
time they don't have the tools. So they are trying to do their best, but they can't.
But they can't.
Yeah,
And so,
and that's a good thing. That's a good point, because if you as a customer recognize that, and then you build empathy for the service provider, you'll get to better service, right? It doesn't solve the problem of not having the right training or not having the right tools or something like that, but it does make a human connection, and then that human connection makes it, like when I am calling a call center, I always try to make friends with the person on the other. Even it doesn't matter how mad I am at the company, it's not going to do me any good to get mad at the person. Anyway, this has nothing to do with design thinking.
No,
But it's an approach, right? Like it does have it's the empathy thing, right? Like
But I do think it does at the end, because it's also the way the service is delivered. I mean, if you have somebody like, this is what I do, and
right.
you get, most likely you get an okay or maybe a bad service because that person is not thinking beyond his or her task.
I wanted to make a comment. When I was in London, they didn't serve alcohol in the pubs. They didn't have anyone to serve you, and I thought that was so peculiar because I'm used to having a server, and you just go up and pay cash, and you go up to the bar and they give you buy your beer. But then as I thought about it, by cutting out that step, everybody gets beer quicker. You just go up and they're slapping beer up on the counter. They have 1 or 2 types of beer, and that's it. And it's just like a big keg party. But everybody's getting beer. They're selling more. Customers are happy.
Yeah.
They only take cash, and they only have usually they sell beer at lunchtime, which I thought was crazy, but that's what people do. They get 1 or 2 beers.
Starts in the morning.
And then, but then tell that to people at the butcher block. And then they serve like a sandwich. I have no problem or whatever. But it's a real type. This is what you're there for. This is what you want. So if you thought about it, is that step necessary in your journey? Is it? If it's not, get rid of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you the thing that you heard about. I'm the bird out of the sewing machine.
The hardest organizations to deal with, me and deal with all the time, is like customs and security. Like my worst experience in the past couple months, because they don't need to empathize with the customer. I'm sure they do at some level. But I was in line in security, and you're not allowed to get mad. You're not allowed to get mad. And I never get mad. I was so mad. I'm in line, and the line of all of us Koning were here, and they had their Nexus, elite people going to this guy. They had babies, strollers, and old people over here at this line, and there was no other line. So we sat there for 20 minutes. We did not move, and there were just babies and strollers, elite people, and nobody else. There was nobody else serving anybody. It was like, I couldn't lose. I'm a time person. I'm gonna miss my flight, and there were no options. There's strollers, elite people, and I guess they leave you in if there's space. But if I made friends with the woman at the front, I was trying to make friends.
Trying to make eye contact.
So hard. I'm like, are you gonna get us through here or not? And I told a lot of people that Canadians are like, don't ruffle any feathers. I'm like, I didn't. I was okay. Yeah. That's same at the border. You're not allowed to leave.
No, I rented a car here, so I don't want to upset the police because I don't know how they're going to react. So
that's a smart attitude.
I behave differently than I would in Brussels. I'm not a person in the car there.
Pardon?
Twitter security guy told us to stay in the jail.
Best to not get arrested.
Okay, good advice, thank you.
Thank you.
So did that.
When they're going to customs to get here, they're saying, don't get thrown in jail. And they're like,
Because you look really different.
But what do you have in your passport? Is it like a stamp that you visit some store?
I have that too. I'm like, what's this thing on here? What's in my file?
Okay, so what has happened is that why we do service design, the bar is being raised every day because we now look at bad examples, but there's so many good examples out there now. And And that world is changing so fast that we expect all the services to be like this. One of the things that I face with, so I work in global business services. These are services provided to the employees. In this case, of course, we have both. Employees expect the same service level and the same treatment as external. And what I see is that look inside Procter & Gamble, that we're really lagging behind. We're always a few years behind. So people expect to get these magical user interfaces. It's improving now, but it took us quite a while to get there. And that doesn't make it easier, but the good thing is it's an opportunity for us. And as you said, every time we go somewhere, I also look and I'm not saying that I have journey maps in my head. Sometimes it's like, that's interesting. Where am I now? Oh, it's very negative. Ooh, what should I do now? So, yeah, that's why there is this clear need of service design. It's like so, it has become so dominant. So, just to start off, we talk about design thinking. The question always comes like, hey, what is design thinking versus others? And here I come back to the comment I made before. I'm a purist in terms of design thinking, that I really like the methodology and the tools, but if the problem is leading itself for it, I will borrow from others. So my toolkit is a mix of things. In Lean Startup, there are some tools like the MPV, and there's some options there which I think are really cool. So for me, I'm mixing and matching. And the same is for agile development. So within Global Business Service, we implemented with a team a program which is called Design to Delight, and I was really borrowing items. It was I would say 90% design thinking, but there were tools and elements of the different schools like Lean Startup and Agile Development. And if you're going to look, there's like a multitude out there. The fact that this is design thinking, please don't exclude other tools that you think are useful. And it sounds maybe really trivial, but I do see that people think, oh, that's not a design thing. It doesn't matter. If there's a challenge that needs that tool, use it. Because it serves a purpose. And that's why I said adjust some of the tools that work for you. I take the example of the customer journey map. I make the stakeholder value map. Where is it here? I love this one, but I think also play with it. Like down there's 6 books. You can put 4. You can put the idea in the middle. You can put already your problem statement. There's many different things you can do with it. So also use the, let's say, the ecosystem of tools like that. Yeah, look around. The way I do it, I call it like it's kind of horizontal learning. So I like to read books that maybe are not about design thinking, but something that is related to design thinking. So maybe about group dynamics, or maybe like creative thinking. And then at the end, I link it back and I make the puzzle. Because what I've learned and what I like from design thinking, as I said, it's open source in a way. You also need to learn it the way what works for you. One of the things, and that's why I do like the bootcamp, is it's learn by doing. That is, it is really required, because especially if you have lots of smart people in the room, we like to discuss and strategize. And people tend to, I would say, lose time, but forget what they're actually here for, and that's to look for a solution for what that persona has been saying. And what we have, if we start talking about it, I think it's really important that if we start talking, we're making assumption on assumption on assumption on assumption, with the risk that the solution we come up with is completely far removed from what the actual problem was about. And if I take that back to what we've seen in Global Business Services, at one time in Global Business Services, 7,000 people. There were like at least 5 or 6 layers for the person that we call like solution manager and the actual people that are using it. So I did design workshops for these folks, and it was the first time that they were working as solution manager that they really talked to their end users. And these are fellow employees. Maybe a different function, maybe a different location, but they never really engaged with us. Their user was like kind of a spreadsheet. So it's a design thinking is great, but don't exclude all the others. Is my message here. This is the Wikipedia definition. I shouldn't do it, but I was looking. I looked at others. I think that the elements are in there. So Service design is planning and organizing the people, the infrastructure. It's about improving the quality and also improving the interaction between the service provider and its customers. These are kind of the key elements of service design. I mean, I can try to give it like a term, but that's really what I think it really is. But then the thing is, these are kind of the components as I see it. So this is customer facing, this is the back end. There's kind of three building blocks in the middle. So you have the people, the props, and the processes. If you start with the people, these are the people that use the servers, but that's also that enable the service, or that affect the service that is given. So these, and that's why I think it's great that you already have different persona. I think at the end we all took like I haven't seen all the persona templates, but I think we all taken people out of the community. No, nobody from the Catalyst Foundation. But that could have been an option as well.
Yes, we had a discussion about that.
Yeah, and I think that's what this people is about. And that's why when you look at the persona, don't always like have a tunnel vision and only look at potentially the end user of the service. Because by putting yourself in the shoes, we did some boot camps where we worked for the family court in the UK. There was one in London. And there was some were like lawyers, barristers, some were people visiting the court, some of the people were like the security guards that receive people that come there for the first time. It was about the experience that people have that they who visit the family court for the first time. They're always really scared, and there's lots of knowledge and information they don't have, so they're pretty insecure, and it's about improving that experience. So by looking at the different people, you get different journeys and you get different opportunities you can focus on. The props are really the digital and physical artifacts. So that's one of the things you can do for the prototype related today. You can either decide to show the whole service, but you can also say, hey, I'm only going to show you this. I saw something like there was the Mountain Dew edible water bottle. Maybe you want to create that one and show that and see how people react. And in a few words, explain the whole service. But that's the process as a team you need to go to. Which are the things we think are most impactful to show to the people that we're going to meet in the street later on. The processes are really like the procedures and the underlying I would say connections that are made between the different groups. So that is part of what we do with the journey map. So that's a pretty critical one. And then here you have your front end is really what is facing directly with your persona. So these are like your touch points. These could be your channels. This could be the actual products. This is everything that your that your customer or persona is acting. And this is this could be some of the infrastructure, the system, and the tools that you have in place. So what we're doing in today, we're not going to go through all that. We don't have time to do that.
I was,
yes.
Anna and I we were trying to build an on-ramp from service design to what we call business process modeling.
Yes.
Which I know you're an IT guy. It's software type design. So when you say process, would that be something we could integrate into that one slide? It's like agile.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. But it could also, be your backend. It depends a little bit. Some of it comes even there. If it's like it's a process that touches the customer or the persona, then I think it goes beyond. I wouldn't only try to fit it in the box here. I just have the different parts because I think it's easy to explain the components. But some of the borders are grayish or dotted lines, and they go. It tends to fit there better probably. So service design thinking. That's not this is actually a photo of my son. He put it's a face which he put with pins, no? I think that I call it. And why I like the photo is what I'm saying with design thinking. I'm teaching people to talk to people. That people are not scared and you can talk to them. When I go inside companies, it's like, hey, you can talk to your fellow employees, it's not a bad thing. People talk, but they don't tend to talk about the projects they work on or the process they're trying to improve. You're going to all get the slides. I'm going to put them on Basecamp, so you can take the notes. And that's why I put this photo on there, because we have this love-hate relationship with our personas. We want to talk to them, but sometimes it's like going out in the street. Have you all done street interviews already?
No.
No, but before and any other?
Yes, we have.
So your kind of experience, that's okay. Because I also see people that get really like, oh, I need to talk to somebody in the street, what am I going to do? You see that the fact that you empathize with them, you listen to their problems or to their feedback, it generates such a good connection that people are so happy to talk, and they actually are willing often to come back and provide further feedback. So the 5 principles, and this is where the design thinking and service design comes. So it's user-centric. I think that speaks for itself. Co-creation. The journey map is a tool that I love to do together with the actual, you call it experts, or with the customer, with the people that come in for who you design, because it's visual and it's a great way to have a conversation. So what I've done in the past is that you do interviews or discussions with your experts or personas. You create the first draft of the journey map and then bring them in again. Say, hey, this is how we see your journey. This is where we see you're really happy, and here you're really unhappy. Do you agree? And then you get such a wealth of information, and that really helps you to validate that what you've created there is correct and is the way you see. The risk you have, of course, if you have too many, well, not too many, but different personas, is that you will get multiple journeys, but that's also something you sometimes have to acknowledge.
Yeah, that's all I was trying to say. Rather, I can eliminate some of the outside research time by bringing them in and having the conversations and doing that at the same time.
Yeah, I would say if you have limited time, the more you can bring them in, the better the chances are that you have something that is really insightful and useful. On the other hand, the one thing you have to watch for, if you bring them in, those people tend to think more linear. What is next? So they come, this is my current situation, what is going to be the next step? So you have to find ways of making them think a little bit like, hey, what is, like what Mark is saying as well when we were going through the good things of what is out there, what's crazy, what are the crazy ideas, so you have to play a little bit with that. So that's the co-creation part. The sequencing and evidencing, this is like, sorry, I seem to come back to the journey map again, but that's also putting the order of the activities that are out there. And the journey map, here it's like, here it's 2 pages. I've seen ones that was like 10 meters long, and underneath, they started to put all the prototypes, and they use it as kind of as their common canvas during like a multiple day session. And every time it was building, it became enormous, but it was also really strong because you saw exactly where in the journey map. After that, it was impressive, but at the same time easier to decide where the teams really wanted to focus on. And that is part of the sequencing and evidencing. So the journey map here, you can think about here. You put some of your prototypes or your paper prototypes underneath. In the case that we did the first bootcamp, we did it after some of the prototypes that we made with the bar, with the beer. At the next day, which was still readable, we put it underneath. It was not that bad. Holistic comes back to the generic. The thing is, like for design thinking, it needs to be the more multifunctional, the better. When I did my first training, or I got training to become a facilitator, we had to do 2 workshops. The first workshop we did only with IT people, because I'm IT people, like to make that comment. And it was for a new platform that had to be rolled out to the employees. Can you imagine what the solution was with what the IT people came up with? What should it be? What kind of solution can we make? An app. Of course, it was an app that we were creating. And then the next day, they had to do the same workshop with a mixed group of people. There were people from finance, from marketing, from sales, and also some. And the result was really significantly different because it was much more on a soft process, how people were going to be received, how they're going to be coached during the whole upgrade process. And for me, that is coming back to holistic. If you get a room of only finance managers, you're going to get something that is going to go in that direction if you like it or not. So when you do these sessions where possible, I always have a couple of friends that I call, hey, said, well, you want to have some fun for a few days? And I do the same for them. They come in and they bring in some different point of view, and they normally don't know anything about the topic, but that's fine. Because part of the design thinking process, the steps you're going through, you already feel a little bit expert in your domain after 2 days now. You already have some certain thoughts, what works, what doesn't. That process is also the strength of design thinking, because you build that common knowledge and that common vision, and you remove all barriers. The example I can give from there, so coming back to this one for Pampers, we did it with people from Procter & Gamble. There was a retailer, an online retailer. And since I don't work, it was in Poland, I don't work in Poland, and I haven't worked a long time with Pampers, I didn't know any people. So at the beginning, they introduced themselves, and I know that's P&G, that's retailer. At the end of day one, I was not able to distinguish anymore who was P&G and who was the retailer. Which for me was like, I was really happy about that in a way, because that means that process they went through and they did all the stuff like the journey map. It was a 2-day session. They all got like to common ground, and they were talking in the same way about the persona, about the mothers in this case. And that is that holistic part. That's where design thinking helps to bring everybody. Like get them out of their cages, out of their silos, and give everybody like a reset and start from zero and discover together what the challenges are that the people you're interviewing or working for are facing. And then the more multifunctional, so the more diverse your group is, the richer probably the ideas and the inputs that will get, or the areas that people will focus on. An app can sometimes be a good solution, don't get me wrong, right? There's some really good apps out there. So these are kind of the 5 service design thinking principles. Some examples. So this is one that is from a restaurant in Taiwan. So this is the video, you might have seen the video. Have you seen the video?
Yeah.
So what I like about this one is it's a very clean example. Because it's so clear that the student or the older man, they have such a different, they have different expectations for different needs. But there shows well, at the same time, it shows as well the importance that you cannot make everybody happy. You need to decide who you want to focus on. And so here you see like they put their different profile together. And at the end here, it's not very readable, unfortunately. But here, this is the survey experience from the woman. She's very busy, and they mapped out her whole journey where she goes like, she wants a busy schedule, she wants to go, and then she comes in, she enters the store, waiting time, staff welcomes her, and you see that whole step. This information is really helpful because if you have different journeys from different people together, there might be some overlaps that you can look at. So you can also put journeys next to each other. And that's why I like the restaurant case, because it's an easy way. If you want to explain to somebody the customer is, that video I think is brilliant. Because in a few minutes, people again understand what the customer journey is about. And by looking at those different journey maps, it helps you to decide which are the domains you want to focus on in building the service, or what are the key touch points that you want to focus on. This is one, that's Damon, that's a young Matt Damon, so not Damon, Matt Damon. I said I worked on a program called Design to Delight, which is a few years ago. As you can see, he looks a little bit younger. But we used always Matt Damon as the on our persona templates. We showed like how to create a persona, not in the final ones, but if we were presenting, we always put the photo of Matt in there. So that's why he still follows me in my presentations. I'm doing fine. But what I told before, that in global business services, there were so many layers in between that people had became spreadsheets. So when we started this program, we got this pilot project. You want to create this design thinking implementation inside the global business? That's fine. Show it to us. So they gave us a project that already failed 3 times. It was called the dashboard. It's basically like a collaboration platform with KPIs and documents that were shared for multifunctional teams. I said, no, we don't want it. No, you have to do it. No, we don't want it. Yes, you have to do it. So we got that project. And one of the things that we noticed when we actually did a 5-day workshop, it was over in Cincinnati, and we did this voting with your feet exercise. So we put this imaginary line here. It's like here, if you stand at this side, it says like, done it, try, it's never going to work. And then there was this side here. It said like, yes, we can make a difference and we can really make it work. So it was the design of the team, which of course stood on this side. And you had the dashboard team, they were standing on this side at the beginning of day 1. And what we discovered, we already discovered it before, is that actually the dashboard team, they never did a real proper segmentation. So they didn't have the personas properly defined. So one of the things we introduced on that day 1 was, hey, what are the customer segments? So which are the different employees you're focusing on? And what are their needs? So we started to build a journey map and went to that. So we went through 5 days through all the different, like you're going to the boot camp. And then at the end of day 5, we did that voting exercise again with your feet. And then everybody was more or less like huddled in the middle. People on the extreme got a little bit more realistic, and the other people realized there was something really to go for. And by focusing on the personas, it really helped to to come up with more specific examples. Because what they were trying to do before was like a generic dashboard that would work for everybody. And that wasn't the case. And I think that's the same where I think you have to watch out for during these days, that don't never forget your persona where you're designing it for. Because it's very easy to step away. So, okay, and now we have the insights. Well, we want to create this and we want to add that, and you get these featureitis. Now where you add all these features around it, and it's very hard to see what the core idea is about. And what I've often seen, what resonates, not what resonates best, what can be most impactful, are ideas that at face value are really simple. But since you have gone through the process, you also have to trust the process and the insights you've gathered. And those insights could be really simple. But to give an example, we did it for a hospital in London. It was a boot camp. We did 3 boot camps, and 3 times the idea that came out as winning has been implemented in the hospital. It was a training, yeah? There was no intent of doing it. One of the first ones was in the UK, when you go to a doctor and to the general practitioner, and then you have to go to a specialist, there is often like a 2 or 3 month time in between. So there's a waiting list to get an appointment with a specialist. So these were people that had like diseases. When they had flares, they had to go to the specialist, but their appointment normally was 1 or 2 months after. So the idea of the team was really simple, so people can switch appointments. And they kept that, and they built a bit more around it, but when they presented it to the hospital, I did like looking at it like, it's crazy, it's brilliant. And what I think the team did really well, they kept that original insight, because they're talking to so many people that, yes, when I go to the specialist, I didn't have my flare. So we really don't have a very good conversation. And I cannot help the specialist, and the specialist at the same time, these people will come right away when they have their symptoms. It's such a different world for me, because I can really help them. And why I give that example, because for me it's like, and again at face value, it's a super simple idea, but it was so powerful that the hospital implemented that idea. And that's why I think trust the insights and the process. It doesn't have to be always look fancy, and it doesn't have to all bells and that core insight. If your final idea is presented, if there's like no relationship in between, like a very unclear relationship, something went wrong in the process in the middle. And I think it's part is human. It's like 100% is perfect idea. It needs to have this, it needs to have that. But I think the core of design thing we're talking about those individual insights. How did I get that from the dashboard? Sorry, this is a side step. But up there as well, by going after the personas, they got very specific insights, and they were able to make specific interventions, because the dashboard solution that they created was so generic that it didn't resonate with anybody.
I have a question about.
Of course.
So, we might create personas of people that we haven't been interviewed or interacted with.
Yes.
Is that correct? So, like in a company, would they have to do interviews with people before creating?
It's always better. It doesn't have to be. This is about quality, not about quantity. I normally say if you talk to 3 to 5 people, then at least when there's one outlier, you notice it because there's always people that are a little bit different. Fortunately, but like when you create persona, watch out a little bit. But you could do it without. What I normally do is there's lots of information and data already available, so you can make a step. You can make already kind of a rough segmentation, so that you, when you know you're going to invite certain people, you know that they would fit probably in those segments or in those groups. Because I also had the experience that we did, it was a 3 or 4 day workshop, and we didn't, with the project team, we didn't talk the segmentation properly through, and we basically discovered during the first day that they were like, at the end of it, we ended up having 3 parallel workshops, because the 3 groups were so different of the 3 different segments, that they all had such a different experience that we were not able to kind of bring the group easily together, and they also were working at different speeds and different availability. That is something that you want to do. But so you can build the first version, but you really want to validate it, at least with a couple of interviews, because otherwise you're making assumptions. Assumptions are great, but they're very risky.
Arnoud, I have a question for you about, you referred to the journey maps quite a bit, so I
Yeah.
have a question about that. So I know in the Taiwan restaurant example, these were 4 different journeys, right?
Yes.
But in some cases, when you said you can't please everybody necessarily.
Yes.
Right? So we're designing, and we've done our journey map for 1 person, but maybe a restaurant might have 1 journey, but 5 personas of people that come in. Is there any tool, or have you seen people use a tool that they like look at the emotional state of those 5 personas at once and then optimize, say, majority of the people are going to be the happiest.
Yeah.
With this, if we adjust our journey this way, because you can't have 5 journeys.
There are some digital tools, and I know there's some things working on it, but I haven't worked with them. I'm not sure, Mark, but I haven't seen anything that does it. But then you're playing a little bit with fire there, because then you're assuming that you can kind of add journey map or emotional state as results, which is kind of this is not like an exact number. Huh? It's a bit of an art. Huh? It's what you validate it, but it's not like if you put 9 here, there's nobody telling you it's 9, 7, or 8, or 6. No, you see what I mean? So.
But I can see if you have 5 personas, you might have 5 different lines, right?
Yes.
What makes one
Yes.
person happy?
So I know the London team is looking and working on that. They are adjusting the journey map so they can kind of make an electronic version and then can make those comparisons. But they're working on it.
Where then like all 5 have a negative emotion.
Yes, yes.
This process.
That you can overlay. Yeah. So you can make it. But I forgot the name. There's this tool which I think is an electronic version of the journey map, and I'm sure that it's not.
Well, there's Snaply and there's Lucid Charts. There are several of them in the customer experience world. And I think they're all valid. The question becomes, though, well, not the question, that any single variable could change. So one server could disrupt what is statistically great for your customer satisfaction level. But Snaply is excellent. It's very simple in a way. The team, John actually introduced it to me and to several of us. But there are several out there that automate.
I think this is an interesting discussion because I think that's helpful to be able to do that. I mean, at some point, your goal is to try to find, I think, Arnoud, correct me if I'm wrong, the pain points, right? And maybe also other points, but primarily you're trying to solve people's pains to make the journey better. And you're trying to look at it holistically. And so for a given persona that you're designing for, everybody's journey is potentially going to be a little bit different, right? So you've got to pick those personas that you want to design for. And try to optimize their journey. And yes, there will be some overlap between some of them, and being able to see that overlap analytically in a way is, I think, what you're asking for. And that's a nice thing to be able to do, but you could probably do it by just looking at the journeys. And because I'm thinking through this, right? You identify a pain point. Okay, there's a pain point. We know to have that. Let's go to the next journey. Here's another pain point, right? And then go to the next journey. Oh, this pain point's the same as that pain point, but if we're going to solve it for these two personas, we have to solve it differently, or something like that, right? So seeing the overlay may help, but I don't think it's. There's not a shortcut to doing that persona by persona analysis.
I think you said you basically have 5 journey maps.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering, like historically anyway, has it always been a one-to-one relationship between persona and journey?
Yes.
The digital world is a little bit different, because the digital world, you can follow somebody and you know, I'm no longer, I used to spend time in designing applications and stuff. And you got technology now that can follow you from your social media, from your mobile to your desktop, from browser to place through all kinds of tracking code and stuff like that. And they can serve you a different experience depending on who you are and your past behavior. Like that's the future, but that's undigital. That's only one channel. That's only one touch.
But it depends on how you define your persona. I mean, it could be now say like it's not only demographics. It might be also maybe your persona is a person that comes into the restaurant. And it's like just a beginning part, and you just look overall. So you can also cut out and take a journey, make the journey map more focused. So, because that is what you sometimes see is that personas, it's actually the demographics are mixed, but they're looking more at other elements that are in common across those groups. And then, sorry, it's not a very clear answer, but I hope you're trying to, you understand what I'm trying to get to.
I just want to add one thing, because although I'm working with I'm with a technology, a software and services company. John, Steve and I are, and Tim. But my focus has been this world of customer experience. So journey mapping and a lot of the pillars are similar, but it's starting more focused on customer experience. But this I found so fascinating, so I just wanted to bring it up. So as an example, why this is so relevant is Starbucks, we had looked at as game changers.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was buying coffee. It's really good about the experience. And they figured that out and have designed for that. But now they're successful, they're still growing, but they have targeted specifically the persona of basically grandparents and parents between hours of 3 and 6 who would normally pick up their children or have this downtime in the afternoon to drive revenue growth as their strategic plan. And it's hashtag ageless. And all they're trying to do is drive X percentage of social media engagement, resulting in a percentage of increase in revenue in those hours only, as their business impact strategically for what would happen to me last year. And they published this because Harvard was doing case analysis and it's public information. I don't even work with Starbucks, but so this is relevant in so many different ways, starting a business, growing a business. It's just amazing, but I thought I'd share that because I find that intriguing. It may have been a very boring story to everybody else, but that's the kind of thing that is interesting.
So it's a completely different persona and journey map between 3 and 6.
Yes.
That's why I was mentioning each part of the journey or the process you're looking at. Your persona also can change. Because I think what you were looking at is like, what do they have in common, and so maybe you want to see like, what are those people at that moment that are coming, and what is what characteristics I can identify, which is maybe not demographics or something else.
And why don't we, it's kind of comes in, and I don't know too much on a tangent, but it's kind of like we were talking about yesterday. It's not looking what's normal in the customer journey from a customer experience. It's looking at the exception or the emotional moment of truth. But the point being that it does help a bit, it helps opportunities to say, why don't we have that perception? Why are we so much this way, linear thinking, and yet these outliers, why don't they have what we have? And then you start maybe prioritizing.
No, I just wanted to ask if you had thoughts to share about like selecting those outliers or more extreme type of customers to explore.
I mean, those are normally the people you go for if you want to go more for a bit more disruptive ideas.
Right.
These are the people that often they have done something that others might not even consider or might not do, so you can use it as your extreme users that you want to.
I just find with clients that kind of they want to.
They're scared.
They're automatically thinking like I want to target my average customer, so it's always a conversation.
No, I think it's really worthwhile spending time with those people as well. I was looking at the time, so I was just going to go to value creation, where we're going to look at in the value of your proposal that you're doing is we're basically going to look at 3 axes. One is viability, desirability, and feasibility. So, and this is maybe, don't worry about it too much. We're going to come back to this at the end of the day. But it really helps. What we want to get you with the concept canvas is also get some realism. How viable is your idea? What does it take? Is it $10,000? Is it $10 million? Maybe if it's $10 million, it might be a bit off. So don't worry about it now. We're going to do it at the end of the day. And that's also part of the process of bringing that in at the right moment. If I tell it from the beginning, it might be a constraint that stops you from thinking. Sometimes constraints are actually really good to get them from the beginning. Money, I'm always a little bit skeptical to throw it in right away. So viability is not like what is the business, but what is the financial reality for the organization that you're designing for? What is their impact? Does it fit within their means that they have in mind? Yes.
It seems to me like this is really, really important, right? And it would be brought up closer into the process. And we're talking about maybe not worrying about this until the end of the day, but it's something that if we're going down this path and we haven't considered it properly, when we get to the end of the day,
yes,
we find out it's not viable, we almost have to start over.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe not. It could be that there's still a lot in the idea that is really actually strong and powerful.
I like being able to pay attention to this earlier on in the process, especially when we're kind of brainstorming, because we're brainstorming, and I know that's part of the process to generate the ideas and ideation. We also have to be realistic into
absolutely. So there's different ways of doing that. Sometimes you bring in experts and you ask people to kind of pitch their ideas and or spend time with the experts to find out what works well and what doesn't work for their idea. But if you do this too early, some people then only work, it can only be $10,000, while often the cost model, I mean, there's so many options you have to do things in a different way. And maybe you should scale it down, bring it back to what the core idea was. So you want to make a comment?
Yeah, but very often the challenge itself gives you boundaries. Like in this case, we're talking about community-based solutions. So in that sense, you know that where the product viability territory is, right? It's not going to be $10 million. It's probably going to be less than $10,000 because it is a community-based thing. And if you have a client or a project sponsor and it has dimension, right? So you somehow know what can match.
Yeah, I guess if you bring it back to this, our solution set, or the problem we're trying to solve, I get that. We probably got a little off on tangent in terms of some grandiose idea, trying to bring out a sponsor and things like that. But I guess I'm looking at the process and applying this process to other problems. So I like the idea of bringing it up with
what I've seen cases where we did once the session was about improving the consumer relations experience, and there was one team out of, let's say it was 35 people that came up that to put something on the packaging. Changing packaging is quite a complex process, etc. And we decided to let it go because it was one team and we trust the process. They thought this was the insight that was driven it, and they thought it through and they presented that. And so you need to weigh it a little bit, because it doesn't mean that every solution should fit already in the. That's design thinking, yeah. You know that you have a challenge, but you don't know what the solutions are going to be. But you know that the solutions, if you, and that's what you always agree with every client or sponsor, you agree on the format. I want an approved, let's say, a persona-validated prototype with an action plan. That is the form. What's going to be the prototype is going to be the action plan. You don't know, but at least the format is there. And that is sometimes, I think, let it go a little bit with design thinking, trusting the process. Yeah. Sometimes those things come out, they're unexpected, but they spark other ideas, and you don't want to lose that. If the team followed the steps and they did that consciously, it's always a bit odd to let go, but it's like, it's actually pretty cool, their idea. Okay, it's maybe on a different scale, on a different, different angle than we had in mind, but yeah, that's why we follow the process.
I think the other thing, when I see it at the end, is like after kind of reflecting on the week, the value creation, when we've gone out and done these interviews, actual interviews, and seeing the lens of the customer, the things that we've learned. Ann and I have tried to put together a service design platform in our company.
Yeah.
And retrain engineers to not think about technology and service design, but we really haven't been able to figure it. We really have been struggling. And today we talked about flipping this over.
Yeah.
And just kind of starting over. And if we were to take going out and doing customer contextual interviews and doing this different type of methodology and creating value first, and then mapping it into technology later in the business, and then showing that value, that could dramatically modify how we do business as a company. And that could apply to anything.
No, but it's that direct contact with your persona and these interviews that generates these insights,
the empathy,
that helps people to kind of break their original point of view. You can break out of their silo.
Thinking.
I got an observation that I had around the viability that Steve mentioned. I think part of this is that iterative process of going back. Because what happened was, and this was my experience, when we went through that, when we applied the option of having no financial constraints, anything wrong, all of a sudden, all of us started to solidify into a direction. And these ideas started generating, and you started seeing this cascade of ideas in a direction, and it felt right? And then whenever we said, okay, well, now is it viable? And we kind of swept the feet out from underneath all of it, and the things that required an investment kind of fell, but there were still some things that were left.
Yes.
They were viable, right? And then we take those ideas and we started to build on those. And I think that's part of the iterative process.
Yes.
And so to wait on viability as a question does make sense. You know, anything's viable when you start, right? So you don't actually put it as a constraint.
It's also kind of cutting off the idea in components and picking out those components that either resonate or need to harvest.
Right.
Just one thing I just wanted to build on all these things and comment a little bit more about the one value of the one direction. Even if that process that proposal is viable, think of the value of the learning along.
Yes.
Another point I just want to make, I was talking to an entrepreneur in Chicago that he said basically he just continues to work on why not? Why can't something work? Just keep going until you can pass it. Next thing.
I think that the point is don't put your concerns on things too early, because that's the way we know. We say, no, we can't do that. No, but if we did it, it's like when you get into discussion with your colleagues at work, we can't do that here.
There's no way that's gonna work, right? So as soon as that happens, you're back to where you were before.
Yeah, you're right.
So rather than taking it back and making it a smaller bet that John was talking
Yeah,
about, so like, take it from being a bigger bet and make it a more affordable loss.
Yeah.
Back in the ideation stage, and then come back.
It's what Doug said, why not? Why not? Really, why not? If you really consider it. And then most of those constraints, and Arnoud, you and I talked about, like, when do we introduce design constraints?
Yes.
And it's a concept, right? Constraints are really, really good. They actually sometimes constraints help you be more innovative, right? But the ones that the usual suspects constraints of like, we can't do it that way in our organization, or we don't have the money to do it. Those typical excuses for not doing something, those are the ones that you want to kind of throw out, at least initially, to explore whether something is possible. Because if you let those constrain everything you're doing, then you're just going to end up with the same solution you've done before in a way, up to a point, up to a reasonable point. And the reasonable point, I think, is where we're going to get today with prototyping and seeing what actually the people, the key stakeholders actually say about your idea.
Yeah.
Because that's where the rubber hits the road. I mean, and then of course, once you see, oh, this bit over here is really interesting, let's explore that, let's develop that out. And then at some point, it's going to bump up against the reality of financial capabilities, your operational capabilities, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's where this process is really good for me, because it's changing the way I look at that, right? Because I would ordinarily, when those muscles are saying, okay, even this idea very early on, I'd be saying, okay, is this feasible? Is this possible? Is it within the budget? Can I use these resources for that right away? And it keeps me by thinking of better ideas by not putting that out there.
Right. So just remember the example. There's a great example out there, right, that I use when I talk to people about innovation. Is Uber. And you could pick Airbnb or whatever you want, Amazon, whatever you want, right? Think about the way that idea could have gotten shot down right off the bat. You have to have a license to run an Uber, to run a taxi. Can't do it. And that's just shut down. Regulation is never going to happen, right? And the fact is, Uber exists. We all know Uber exists. Airbnb exists, even though it's a really creepy idea to have people sleeping in your house. Or you will never go to somebody else's house and sleep in their house. Right? You'd never do that. No, you'd never get. Why would I ever get in a stranger's car? Yeah. So if you put the constraints on too early, so I think what's important in this is to see where the value is that is there that you're not tapping into, and then when you run up against those usual suspects of constraints, you say, well, look, the value's there. Do we want to get the value, or do we want to let it shut our business down because somebody else is going to get that value because the customer says that's valuable, right? Come on, guys, come on. Like, are we going to do this or not? I mean, are we going to go for the $1 billion business, or are we going to just ignore it, let them innovate us out of our business?
Actually, one smart way to deal with constraints when they are, because they're always there, is to try to find opportunities that are bigger than any constraint. And that makes people change their mind about constraints. So when you identify opportunities and ideas that are bigger than any constraint, you can make any CEO think about, okay, maybe we need to make an effort and go beyond constraints. So that's also the type of idea that you deliver, right? The opportunity needs to be bigger than the constraint.
I would also say that this type of thinking is different than, like, we've been trained in sales, and you need to identify the opportunity, and if it's not going to work, cut bait, right? And so to let things simmer and really create value and do a little bit more work, it does take some different type of thinking, and more entrepreneurship and more, and that's what's required in today's environment. That wasn't really required so much in the past. And so we're actually in our company, which is an old company, we have 2 programs right now for training. One is a 20-year-old sales training. And we have this new type of training we're trying to figure out. So it's indirect, some of it is in direct conflict.
One other comment, and I think what we were discussing earlier today, this morning, the thing is, though, everything's imposed. It's not learned. It's not consumed. It's imposed information. So that's why we're thinking, wait a minute, let's think wrong. Let's not impose it. Let's share it. So.
I just want to close this one. The other one is the desirability. So you do this for your persona or persona. So why do they believe or have to believe? What are their reasons to believe that you have such a good idea? And then feasibility is how can it work in the organization? What is required there? Again, we're coming back to that later at the end of today. Just in summary, these are the things that we talked about. So for service design, you have the people, the props, the processes, the front and the back end. For service design thinking, these are the 5. You have from user centricity to holisticity. The tools that I mentioned that we're going to look at, the product service system is what we're going to start with right away. Service scenario, we're going to prototype and we do the concept canvas. And then value, viable, feasible, and viable. So just to leave it there. One last comment. I'm going to keep it simple today. Okay? I want to the point, simple ideas. You want to buy an ice cream, that's all. Okay? I want it to be clear. You have great insights, build on them, don't lose them, keep it simple. That's that's kind of my mantra for today. Keep it simple. We're going to do some exercises that go beyond and go further, but try to keep it simple. Okay? For the next canvas, shall we show them and talk it through like that? Or you want to first have maybe a short bio break?
Yes.
For 5 minutes?
Yeah, let's do that. Quick break.
Yeah, it's 5 or 10 minutes, but 5 minutes fine? We want more? I don't know what is the break length to you?
You want the break?
Yeah, 5 minutes. Let's take a quick break, okay? Can you guys do that?
Yes.
Okay.
You put that last slide with the break in.
Okay, it should only be 15 minutes. I joined this newsletter this week and like my people I need to interview on the West Coast and they like needed my help. And I'm not going to tell some of these research general. Oh, can you wait till
No.
I'm afraid of these people.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So what I'm struggling with is do you group those into one groupings?
I recommend set up a
but you don't necessarily have to. You can have 3. Yeah.
So when I did the game of elimination, why did you put that on here? So it's at least 4. Okay. We ignore them. Are you sure? And then you'll see that the discussion is also all in the local focus. Because the intent for the 6 that this come from here, it's not there. So we use this model or this method to really eliminate certain things.
So did you take one of the things that we talked about? Somebody needs to say, and then the value that they receive is the same. So we can group them in one.
It's also like
yeah, I'm also very careful with grouping.
Okay.
Because then you assume that it's really excited.
I have my eye on found right a little.
Because
That's happening.
you could, but
One shot, but I was like,
in this case, you guys have to really focus on the core ones. In this case, wellness and look is like, hey, how does my idea resonate with the others? And is there maybe something I want to take?
I'm not sure I'm gonna set up an LLC, but I'll think about it.
Like, you make it fun, right? So like, for example, I don't do weddings. My girlfriend's have to, you should do weddings. This is a fun business. I want to keep it low stress. I market a little bit. I just got my business card yesterday. I opened a business a year ago.
Right.
Right. So it's a low key fun business. It's really a tool for
You have like commercial partners you get.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Telephone companies.
Let's say
like
Yeah.
900 bucks
That's huge.
for the year. So,
So
but
our value
you double your
engineering
revenue this year.
is it's a whole bunch of different
Well,
types of companies.
I already did. Like,
Yeah.
I blew past that.
I struggled with that a little bit.
You're saying you have all these companies, you have like, is it a commercial company, says, oh, you have commercial partners,